hello, Michael, between the knowing and the being, what is the right way to stay closest to or working towards beingness? Is there such a thing as fake it till you make it on the path to liberation?
Yeah, we can jokingly talk about fake it till you make it. The thing is, ultimately in this path, we are to go beyond all faking. Faking is what is not real. We are investigating what is real. What is real is only I. But one thing we can never fake is I am, because that alone is real, that alone is ever shining. So we need to go deeper and deeper and deeper within. Regarding knowing and being, to the extent to which we know ourselves as we actually are, we are thereby being as we actually are. So we are, the truth is, we are always what we actually are. We are never anything other than that. But now we seem to have risen as ego. Because as ego, instead of knowing ourselves as we actually are, we know ourselves as something other than what we actually are. So the means by which we as ego can attain liberation is by knowing what we actually are. So we need to look within more and more and more. But the more we look within, the more we as ego subside, and the closer we come to thereby to being as we actually are. So knowing what we actually are and being what we actually are one and the same. As Bhagavan says in verse 26 of Upadesh Undiya, Tanai iritale tanai aridalam. Being oneself alone is knowing oneself.
Michael, can I just quickly elaborate on the point about fake it till you make it? So the reason I asked this question is when we read about the experiences of, well, I never know how to use the word experience in this discussion, but when we read about people who attained self-realization, there are two ways. For some people, it happened in a split second. So there was the false I, and then in the very next moment, as it was with Bhagwan, there was no false I any longer. But for most of the people, it seems it was a progression. And the problem with it being a progression is that we don't know what that state is of abiding in the self. We know about it theoretically, but we don't know the nature of it because we're not in it at the moment. And so when I go out into the world and I deal with people, I feel that there's a bit of cognitive overload in dealing with them on the level of the ego, and then also bearing in mind that this is a dream, that my real nature is something else, that there are no preferences that I have in the real nature, does not have an understanding that this person is separate from me. So when I'm dealing with them, you know, whatever exchanges that are happening on the level of the ego should not have any sort of effect on me. And then it becomes very difficult for me to feel natural about it, to feel like I am doing a fair practice of trying to remain aware of the self, of my true nature. And so that's why I asked this question. And I just wanted to understand, is this normal on this path, on this quest, to feel this way, that at a certain level, I am trying to convince myself all the time that none of this is real?
That is, Bhagavan taught us that none of this is real in order to make it easier for us to let go and turn within. But so long as we experience ourselves as I am this body, we will inevitably experience the world as real. So merely telling ourselves this world is not real it may help to a limited extent. I mean, it's useful to understand that this is not real, but so long as we are looking outward, the world seems to be real. So long as we are dreaming, the dream world seems to be real. So the correct way of applying what Bhagavan has taught us is by turning within. Only by turning within can we sever the knot of identification. I am this body. Only to the extent to which this knot is severed, or at least weakened, can we be detached from the world. So do not be. There's nothing natural about this world. There's nothing natural about identifying ourselves with the body. There's nothing natural about actions. So all these things are unnatural. What is natural is knowing and being what we actually are. So if we want to return to our real nature, it may seem to be natural to ego to be always attending to other things, but that is not our real nature. Our real nature is just to know and to be what we actually are. So if we want what is natural, we need to try and attend to our own nature. In other words, to our own being more and more and more. While we are following this path, we are torn between our Vishaya vasanas, which are drawing our mind outwards, and our Sat vasana, which is inclining us to withdraw back within. So this struggle will go on in all of us, but we need to be very focused on what is the one solution, whatever problems we may face in life, whether material problems or spiritual problems or psychological problems or whatever. The ultimate solution to all problems is only looking within and knowing us, thereby knowing ourselves as we actually are. So let's not be concern ourselves with anything else. Let us concern ourselves. Let us try. Of course, we are concerned about other things, but we should try to minimize our concern about all other things and be concerned about the one thing that really matters. That is knowing what we actually are.
Thank you, Michael.
Is that a clear and helpful answer?
Yes. I think that I do have now a much better understanding of how this works. It's just that when I'm putting it into practice, it's a whole different beast. It's the same for all of us, but we that's why we need to be very clear in our understanding. But all that is required, all that Bhagavan has asked us to do is to attend to ourselves. If we attend to ourselves, all problems will be solved.